And it just reminded us of the facility, the resorts that we used to go to in the Caribbean, or we would sit on the balcony and look out onto the garden or the beach or the ocean or whatever. So we just fell in love with the place.
Hi, I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Comfort Life. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading retirement communities and care providers to uncover insights to community lifestyle, care, culture, and leadership. This includes insights from residents, family members, and administration. This is the Comfort Life Insider Perspective.
Margaret and I, my wife was Margaret, and we were responsible for putting 5 of our senior residents into senior relatives into residences. And we thought that they all moved too late. They all left it too late. So we decided that we didn't want to leave it too late. Of course, you never know what is too late. We don't have any children to tell us, Mom, Dad, it's time to go. So we had to decide ourselves when to go. And we made an arbitrary decision that the year in which I turned 75 will be in a senior's home. Okay, so then that year when I was still 74, we began our search. First thing we got was lists from community services. We got 2 or 3 of those and went through them and found 35 that looked reasonable. We checked out all 35 on the telephone at first. We asked them questions like, do you have long-term care and palliative care? We had to be careful there because the definition of long-term care varies from one place to another, we found. Another question, a simple one, is, do you allow us to drink wine with our dinner? And that was important to us. Another one was the ethnicity. We know that there's lovely places that are favored by Italian people, Jewish people, Chinese people, but we didn't want to stand out. We wanted to merge in. So that was one of the questions. We narrowed it down to 10 places, 5 in Toronto and 5 in Mississauga. And we visited all 5 of them and checked out the questions that we had already asked, looked at the facilities, the dining room, whatever auditorium or swimming pool, whatever they physical things they had, and the rooms. That was important. One place, for instance, looked really, really, really good. And we said, we'd like to see the rooms, please. And they wouldn't show us any rooms. They refused to show us a room. So we crossed that place off the list. Another place was very nice. And it's a place where we had already placed 3 of our relatives. When we went to visit them about us, they don't have air conditioning. They said, oh, in the hot weather, we just open the windows. Okay, so we rule that out. Another thing was the location. Access to the subway, because we, at that moment, were living downtown in a condo. And so we thought we'd like to have good access to the downtown area. So we wanted access to the subway. So after visiting all 10 places, we narrowed it down to 2, one in Toronto, one in Mississauga. So we moved into the one in Toronto, which was the Briton House. We moved in temporarily for a month in August and checked it out. We saw that it had an auditorium, a swimming pool, library, nice rooms. We had a beautiful room temporarily. The location was great, 24 restaurants within just a few blocks. The subway was only a 10-minute walk away. Then we went back to our condo for a week, moved to Mississauga, to the Sunrise of Mississauga for 2 weeks and lived there. And that was a nice place, beautiful rooms, a lovely dining room, very good access to the nurses. They had their own private bus. That was great. The negatives there, location. Within 1 kilometer, there was a gas station and a fast food takeout place. That was all. And it did not have indoor parking. And the thought of leaving our poor little car outdoors in Toronto weather, no, we didn't like that. So we came back to our condo for another week, and Margaret and I talked it over, and we instantly agreed the place that we liked better was the Briton House for all of those reasons. One of the nice things was the lady who took us on a tour, Karen Lantella. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but she was a very nice lady, very helpful. She took us to the dining room, 2 dining rooms, the North Tower, the South Tower, elegant dining rooms. And when she showed us the South Tower dining room, I spotted a table for 2 sitting right by the window. And I thought, gee, that would be the ideal table for us. Anyway, when we moved in a couple of months later, permanently, she ushered us to our table, and it was that table. Now, I hadn't said a word. It was sheer coincidence, but I've been sitting at that table now for 18 years. So one of the things that we liked about the Briton House then was the facilities. It has a swimming pool. I don't use the swimming pool, but Margaret did. Beautiful auditorium, 119 auditorium style seats, a stage, grand piano, video projector, a good audio system, a library. Let's see what else. The room that we had was ideal. Incidentally, we moved into the same room that we had tried on a trial basis, which was a model suite. We were the first people ever to live in that. It had an indoor balcony that looked down into the atrium. The atrium at that time was called the English Garden. And it was a nice, quiet area, well respected by the residents, full of greenery. And our balcony looked right down into it. And it just reminded us of the facility, the resorts that we used to go to in the Caribbean, or we would sit on the balcony and look out onto the garden or the beach or the ocean or whatever. So we just fell in love with the place. It had indoor parking for our car. The access, they say, was only a 10-minute walk to the subway, 24 restaurants. These are the things that we noticed right off the bat at the Briton House. The physical move was easy for us. We had to downsize, of course, but we had gone through that process several times in the past. The downsizing for us was easy. We decided what furniture we wanted to take with us. Not much, because the Briton House supplies the bed. So we just took our sofa, all our shelves, our bookcases, et cetera, et cetera. We then walked through our condo and looked at all the nice little things, the things that you save, the souvenirs, the artwork, the little crystal things, et cetera, et cetera. And anything we wanted to take with us, we put on the dining room table. Then we called in the movers and said, okay, take this furniture, take the stuff in the dining room table, and then we just walked out, closed the door, and left everything there. And the company came in, took everything that was left, took it all out, sold it, and gave us most of the proceeds. So the move out was actually very, very simple. The move in was equally simple. In fact, honestly, Brooke, I don't even remember the move in. It was just done so well. We probably went out to a restaurant, had lunch, and when we came back, it was all moved in, for all I remember. As I say, it was such a simple, easy process moving in that I do not, honestly, it was 18 years ago, I do not remember. It was just done so easily. A possible answer to your question was eventually Margaret moved up to the care floor because she had Alzheimer's. And at that time, I moved from that lovely two-room suite to the room where you see it at present. And that move was done by one of the guys at the Briton House, whose job it is to help people move. And so he simply came up, moved everything over. He spent several days with us. You see all those pictures on the wall. He hung all those. He helped me put the bookcases up. And I think the whole thing was accomplished in 3 days. The actual move, of course, was done in just an hour or so. But hanging up all the pictures and arranging everything took another couple of days. So it was done very easily. There is, especially there was before the pandemic. Now that we're in the pandemic, of course, when we were in the pandemic, there was no social activities at all. Everything was canceled. Now that we are coming out, social activities are resuming. There's exercise class 4 days a week. There is another class in the library, which I believe is called the Britonian. I believe there's a charge for it. I don't know anything about it, except that I think it's every afternoon and every morning for people who could use some entertainment. There's movies, there's documentaries. Every Thursday afternoon, I'm in charge of something. We have 2 meetings of the Briton Swingers where we sit around a table and play jazz records. 2 meetings of Residents' Choice where the residents sit around the periphery and they play the record. I actually play them. I mean, they announce them. And then if there's a 5th Thursday, then I usually give a record presentation. Or this month, Susan is giving a record presentation. The swimming pool is open. I don't know if anybody uses it. It's a lovely swimming pool, but it's very underutilized. What else is there? You probably know about the 9th floor, the care floor, and Nettie Boynton runs events for the people up there every morning, every afternoon, 5 days a week. Occasionally, Susan will take us out in a school bus and we'll bounce around the city to go to a restaurant or go out and look at the Christmas lights or the autumn leaves, that sort of thing. I would say immediately. I think that statement should be begun by saying that, remember, we went into the Briton House voluntarily. This was our choice to move to a retirement residence, our choice to move into the Briton House. We were not being pushed into it by our children. So therefore, we did not have any big problem about settling in. We were there because we wanted to be there. We had a nice 2-room suite with that indoor balcony. There was all the activities. Yes, I think it took us just about 0 time to become accustomed to the place. Oh, there's no question about that. That's our recital hall. I like the recital hall for, I guess, 3 reasons. It shows movies. I showed the movie myself a couple of nights ago. We have live concerts quite often. Sometimes they are pop music, sometimes it's classical, sometimes it's jazz. If it's jazz, of course, I always attend. We have that nice a sound system and the grand piano, and it's nice to see a jazz band standing up there on the stage. So I like the auditorium and the events that we have in the auditorium. Well, I would say that for us, it's a good place to live. We've been here 18 years. We've always been happy with the place. We have very few complaints. The good features greatly outweigh the whatever bad features there are. So we're happy, content with and we're glad we moved in. I guess maybe it depends on, are we talking about the prospective resident or the prospective resident's children who are trying to push them in? Maybe the answer is the same though. I guess maybe the main question is, can you afford it? That would certainly limit your choice of retirement homes. As we know, some places are very expensive. Some places, like I understand the Salvation Army, are relatively inexpensive. We're probably somewhere in the middle, but that's an important thing. Can you afford the rent? Secondly, is investigate the ethnicity. You probably want to fit in. You don't want to stand out. You want to fit in with the rest of the people. Look at the facilities, such as the dining room. That's important. Or the long-term care. That's especially important because everybody is going to need care sooner or later. The nurses, the doctors. Check on the ownership of the place. I don't want to scare people, but if you move into a residence that is owned by, let's say, one man, at some time in the future, that one man might decide to convert to a condo and kick everybody out. Now, we hope that isn't going to happen, but I do remember that something like 5 years ago, it did happen once somewhere, I remember. I would feel more comfortable, I think, in a residence that's owned by a big corporation, maybe a franchise, like the Sunrise Group. The Briton House, incidentally, is owned by one family. Okay. Another thing to look for would be the common areas. I mentioned the dining room, sure. Also things like auditorium, a library, parking if you have a car. I mentioned doctors and nurses. That's very important, and the location. We've seen in our travels, beautiful places that are out in the country. There's nothing around except woods and hiking trails. So, what kind of a person are you? Are you an urban person, as Margaret and I were, or are you more into hiking, walking, quiet, looking at the birds, things like that? That's something to think of. We would not be happy in the place in Mississauga, for instance. It had nearby there was a nice stream and a hiking trail along the stream, but that was all. That was all. That's good for 3 months of the year. What do you do when the snow hits? So I think that they're the sort of things that I would advise people to look for. Well, I hate to profess perfection, but I think what we did was pretty reasonable. I think we were quite thorough in our search, in the extent of our search, in the focusing in on each place. We moved at the right time. Margaret was developing Alzheimer's. We did not know that, incidentally, when we decided to move when I became 75. We didn't know that Margaret had Alzheimer's. So it just turned out to be the right time for us. Did we do everything right? I can't think of anything that we did wrong. We chose a good place. I think we chose it wisely after a good search. And we were very happy here, and I'm still happy here. So,
for more information about this community, you can visit their profile at comfortlife.ca.